The first morning in his new home, Paddington woke to the news that Mrs. Brown and Judy were taking him for a trip on the Underground. There was also a large tray of breakfast things beside his bed. So much seemed to be happening at once, he had a job deciding what to do first. So he started on the bacon. "Hurry up," called Judy. "We're going shopping and it's nearly time to leave." "Coming," cried Paddington. "I've never been on an Underground before," he announced. "I'm not sure if you'll be going now," said Judy. "Not with bacon sticking out of your suitcase like that. Look at it." "It's for emergencies," said Paddington. "Bears often have emergencies." In fact, I think I've got one coming on now. "It's very strange," said Mrs. Brown. "I've never heard so many dogs. Perhaps it's the fine weather bringing them out." "I don't think it's the weather, Mrs. Brown," gasped Paddington. "I think it's my bacon. What's left of it." After the excitement of Windsor Gardens, Paddington found the Underground much more to his liking, and he hurried on ahead of the others. Everything seemed to have been thought of. There was a moving staircase, pictures on the wall. There was even a sign with his name on, showing which way to go. "Paddington," cried Judy, "you're going the wrong way." But it was too late. By the time he'd realized his mistake, Paddington was at the top of the stairs again. "Here," said the ticket collector. "What's all this? You haven't been anywhere yet." "I think I must have made a mistake at the bottom," said Paddington. "Bert," called the collector, "there's a young bear here smelling of bacon. Says he's made a mistake at the bottom." "I'm sorry," said Paddington. "I'm not used to escalators. We don't have any in darkest Peru." "Darkest Peru," repeated the inspector. "Oh, well, in that case, you'd better get back down, but don't let me catch you up to any more tricks. You're worse than them dogs." "Shoo, go away." "There he goes again," cried Judy. "Do something, Paddington." That, said Mrs. Brown, was a dangerous thing to say. "I think he's done it." "You again?" said the inspector. "I'll have you know escalators is for the convenience of passengers, not for the likes of young bears to play on." "It doesn't seem very convenient to me," said Paddington. "I've been here ages and I haven't got anywhere yet." "We're supposed to be going shopping," said Mrs. Brown. "That's as may be," said the inspector sternly. "But pressing the escalator stop button without a very good reason is against the rules. Persons are expected to abide by the rules." "Did you say persons?" asked Judy. "That's right, and I've got my job to do. It's bad enough being pestered by dogs." "Well, Paddington's not a person," said Judy. "He's a bear. Isn't that lucky?" Said the inspector. Well, don't let it happen again." "I think you're a very kind inspector," said Judy. "Don't you, Paddington?" "Very," agreed Paddington. "In fact," he announced, "I shall always travel from here in future. It's a very good station if you don't want to go anywhere, especially if you have an emergency on the way." Paddington had never been shopping in London before, especially at a store like Barkridge's. Equally, Barkridge's had never had a customer quite like Paddington, especially in the gentleman's outfitting department. "We would like some bear's pajamas, please," said Mrs. Brown. "Bear's pajamas," repeated the assistant. "Has Madam tried something in government surplus?" "Indeed not," said Mrs. Brown. "I've never heard anything like it. Have you, Paddington?" "Never," said Paddington hotly. And he gave the man one of his special hard stares. "Yes, sir," said the assistant. "At once, sir." He's been sleeping in his duffel coat, explained Mrs. Brown, and we don't want that. We certainly don't, agreed the assistant. Would the young gentleman care for something in stripes? They're all the rage just now. I'd sooner have something in spots, said Paddington. If I had a pair like these, I don't think I would ever get lost, not even if I fell out of bed by mistake. You can say that again, murmured Judy. The changing rooms are on the right, called the assistant. Don't go wrong. I do hope they fit, said Mrs. Brown. He'll be most disappointed if they don't. So shall we all, madam, said the assistant. So far, pyjama week at Barkridge's had been a disaster. In fact, Paddington was the first customer they'd had for days. But if Barkridge's were unhappy about their pyjamas, Paddington was even more upset by the state of their changing rooms. As far as he could make out, most of the doors were locked. And when he did find one which opened, he practically had to force his way through. On the other hand, once inside, it was all very different. It was more like the inside of a house, and he was most impressed. Paddington wasn't sure how long he slept, but he was suddenly woken by a very strange noise. It sounded just like rain, but as he looked out of the window, he had yet another shock. "Well," said a voice behind him, "what are you doing in our shop window, Bear?" "Your shop window?" repeated Paddington. He suddenly wished he hadn't bought such loud pyjamas. "Oh, dear," he announced to the world in general, "I think I've been recognized." But to his surprise, the manager of Barkridge's was more than delighted with all that had happened. "Bear," he boomed, "you're what we in the trade call a trend-setter. Since you went to bed in our shop window, those pyjamas have been selling like hot cakes. Look at them. They've all gone." And to show just how pleased he was, he offered Paddington anything he liked to choose in the store as a present. Paddington licked his lips. All the excitement had made him feel hungry, and he was tempted to ask for one of the hot cakes the manager had mentioned. Then he caught sight of the very thing, some Wellington boots. "I'd like a pair of these, please," he announced. "If it rains the next time I'm in bed, it'll stop the ends of my pyjamas getting soggy. That would never do, especially now you've sold out."